Hey, it's Brandon Dawson here with Building Billions. I am so excited to introduce to my audience my good friend Michael Chandler from the UFC to talk about what being a leader in business and as an individual looks like. Because for those of you that are in business, or if you're just pushing yourself to be the best version of yourself, resilience and the ability to push through the most uncomfortable moments in life is something that you have to be committed to and you have to learn how to do it. Michael, thanks for being on the show.
Man, thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
I see you got a 10X Health shirt on.
I do.
And talk a little bit about why you're sporting the brand.
Man, well, I mean, obviously, I have tried to hold myself to a high standard and associate with high standard individuals and engage in high standard activities to optimize this time that I have on this planet, right? We only get one life. We only get one body, and I get one shot at this quest around the world and quest around the earth, and I just am constantly trying to, in my sport, as a father, as a husband, as a businessman, as a human being, just trying to peel back the layers of any information and techniques and ways that I could become better. And 10X obviously helps me with that.
So talk a little bit about, like, you're the first time I met you was with Grant and Elena Cardone. So you had a personal relationship with the founder of the 10X movement, Grant Cardone.
Mm-hmm.
And then we launched the 10X Health brand after that. What was the first thing that caught your attention with the 10X Health brand?
So obviously, knowing how Grant is and his mind for becoming better, right? Whether it's better in business, becoming better in every area of life, right? That is the whole idea behind 10X. Like, let's not just meander around this world and be average as men, be average in business, have an average life. And there's nothing wrong with those who are there, but we can always be better. We were created for so much more than we give ourselves credit for. You know, we were created for so much more impact and so much more squeezing out every ounce of this life that we can with this one shot that we give. And obviously that has been his mindset. And then obviously with 10X Health, obviously fighting in the UFC, I saw firsthand my boss, Dana White, and how he went from, admittedly, very unhealthy, overweight, low energy, was in pain, bending over to tie his shoes, to now the healthiest he has ever been, at the oldest he has ever been. He now at his age, which is 50.
Yeah, I think I think he's maybe a year younger than me. I think he's 55.
55, right? He is healthier now than he ever has been in his entire life. And isn't it so great how the UFC is flourishing more? His other business adventures are flourishing more. He is flourishing more as the CEO, as the president, as the guy who is running the UFC. So that really caught my eye. And then as I was watching it from afar and doing all my own research and peeling back the layers of the studies and all of the literature out there, it was just a no-brainer for me because I get one shot at this fighting thing that I can do it as long as I possibly can. And at 38 years old, I'm kind of one of the guys who is still competing at a very high level at my age, and it's kind of unheard of. So I've been doing it right, but I wanted to get that extra little 1%.
I remember Dana, the first time we met with him, he was a little skeptical that this 10X Health thing can work. Today, fast forward 3 years later now, that's 2.5 years, call it. He literally looks like he could fight today.
Yeah, he looks like one of the guys on the roster, not the guy in charge of the roster.
Isn't that amazing, that transformation from what you remember 2 or 3 years ago to what we both see today? A guy that's full of energy, full of life, able to, like you said, I've watched him launch a couple different businesses just in the last few years, all successful, and have the amount of energy he has. I saw him in Saudi Arabia for the first Saudi Arabia UFC fight that they ever did here a few months ago. And he landed, cold plunged. He was on a 3-day fast. He was full of energy, full of fire. And then the fight was over. He took off and he went and did his next mission. Mm-hmm. Like, the guy looked like he was just ready, you know? And so when you see that as someone that's, and then Grant, you talked about Grant Cardone. I mean, Grant's 10 years older than I am.
I don't think a lot of people realize that Grant is in his 60s. Right?
Yeah, he's 66 years
I
old.
don't think people realize that. You know, that's how great he
He's
looks.
ripped. The two of you next to each other flexing.
Yeah.
The two of you together flexing on stage at the 10X Growth Conference was like so badass. And to think that he's 66 years old and full of life and full of energy is amazing. So you saw this as potentially a competitive edge, huh?
Oh, 100%. I mean, you know, it's, to me, you have to, like you said, Dana was a little bit skeptical, right? We live in a world where you can get so much information, and you have to really get your information before you just make a knee-jerk reaction or a knee-jerk decision, right? So obviously, as an athlete, I've been ingrained in how to get as much out of my body as I possibly can. Since I was 14 years old was when I started hand-to-hand combat. It's now been 24 years I've been dedicating my life to this. So I've been in that space for a long time. How do I go from a young boy to a young man to a man, and a man to a champion, and highest of levels at fighting, and trying to get as much as I can. So once I started diving into the research of it all, hearing testimonials, hearing the anecdotal evidence from people that I've been around, obviously seeing Dana do it, to me it just became a no-brainer, because you can do all the physical reps in the gym, and you can eat right in the kitchen, and there's these certain things that you have to do, but then there are all these extra curriculars that can be added to your repertoire, be added to your program, that will not just optimize you from a physical standpoint, but even a spiritual and an emotional standpoint, as well as, for me, it's another thing that I get to add that I know I'm seeing benefits from, so that I'm keeping promises to myself, so that I in turn increase my self-image. And it's not just about me and my performance. I owe it to my wife, who I made a promise to, my sons, who I made a promise to, my fans who I have around the world, who watch me and enjoy being entertained by me. I owe it to all of them, plus my creator who created me and gave me these gifts, to not just be good, but to be great. And if I want to be great and extraordinary, if I want to get to that level of extraordinary, it has to be extra. It has to be continuing to do new things, reading new research, trying new things. And then once you find the things that work, sticking to them like your life depends on it.
And for example, you just got your blood work done.
Yep.
We're doing an evaluation. Our doctors are looking at your blood work. You've done the precision genetics, so you get the whole report on what you should eat, what you shouldn't eat based on your genetics, and then matched with your blood, and then the type of workouts you should or shouldn't be doing, the type of supplements that you should or shouldn't be taking, all this information in order for human optimization. And when you look at all that and you see this technology that's available, because this wasn't really available a few years ago. I mean, we're at the cutting edge of this. We're the leaders and pioneers of it. When you look at that data and that information and you think, wow, this amount of content and information. In fact, it's what prompted you to be like, how do I get involved with you guys on this? Because this is precision-based wellness and health and accuracy. And when you think about that as a average human being, getting a guide on exactly based on your genetics and your blood, how to systematically improve your life, what you should be ingesting, your food sources, your IVs, precision IVs, all this precision-based health and wellness that didn't exist 5 years ago. When you think about the competitive advantage of accessing that for the average human being, what are your thoughts relative to the things, because you've seen the inside of what we're doing?
Yeah. I mean, it's such a no-brainer, and it's such an aha moment, because just think about your business, or think about my relationship with my wife. Imagine if there was just a pamphlet that said, hey, this is exactly how you should handle every single one of these situations. This is how you should handle every situation with your kids. This is how you should handle every single situation when you show up to your business, whenever you want to show up and speak, whenever you want to show up and do a training, whenever I want to go into a fight. And I was able to open up a book and said, this is exactly what you need to do to win. We're kind of winging it when we're training and we're putting together a game plan. We don't know for sure if it's going to work. We don't know how he's going to show up. There's so many of these other aspects of it. But when it comes to you and your human body, you have one human body, and there's billions of things happening to it every single day with what we are ingesting or what we are not ingesting, or how much activity we are or are not doing, or how we're training. If there was an owner's manual, there's a reason your vehicle comes with an owner's manual, and every single aspect of it, from the bottom of the tires to the top of the roof, everything, it's all encompassing. And then you can learn how to get the most out of your vessel that you have. Because we've taken it for granted, you know, and I even said on stage the last time we spoke, it's like, you can probably be pretty successful and kind of just be a very below average, because we've seen it, right? Unfortunately, we've seen enough people who they're very unhealthy and they're sick and they're tired and they're like, but, well, they made it to a decent a level, but what was their real potential, right? It's not necessarily about getting to a certain level. It's about getting to the best level that you are supposed to get to. And how much talent are you leaving on the table? How many deals are you leaving on the table? How much impact are you leaving on the table? How much am I leaving on the table if I don't reach that full potential? And now with the cutting edge, the forefront of it, with the cutting edge of this spearhead, that is, we can show you every single thing that you need to know about your body from a genetic test or from a genetic standpoint, that stuff that does not change. And then you can take your blood today, we can make some changes, make some tweaks, learn some things, and then 6 months from now, you get another blood test, and now things have changed, and now we can make even more improvements, and then 6 months after that, even more improvements. It's not many things in life do you get an exact blueprint for how to do it perfectly, and this is just that. So for me, I know I'm performing at a great level, I know I do things right, but if I want to be extraordinary, I have to know exactly, precisely how to train and precisely how to eat, supplement, and recover well.
And when you think about that, that includes things like, we were joking around about how cold is your cold plunge, right? So talk a little bit about the superhuman protocol that you've been incorporating into your training, and what's the result of that?
So this last training camp, I was doing it consistently every single day, and then I would come home on the weekends and do it in Nashville as well. So I would do every day, I would do the cold plunge, then the EWAT, exercise with oxygen therapy, then upstairs to do the PIMF, or to do the red light, and then the PIMF first thing in the morning, and then PIMF at night. So tranquility at night to go to bed, vitality in the morning to kind of get me up and going. Sometimes a red light session in the morning. So I was kind of just, no amount is too much. So I would just be like, oh, I'm bored, all right, I want to read this book. I'm just going to read it while I'm laying on the PIMF mat, or I'm going to watch some film while I'm laying on the PIMF mat. And I had so much more energy for this camp and so much more clarity. To me, I always explain training camp like there's this certain amount of weight that's on you, right? Because there's a lot of subconscious weight. You know, we talk about, I trained for 16 weeks for one fight, and that one fight is one night at one arena in one cage against one guy, and I get one opportunity to do it. So there's that subconscious pressure. Even though I've gotten very good at managing it since I was 14, there's still this subconscious pressure. So there's always this weight, you know? I know I'm doing enough, but am I doing it perfectly? Am I doing it the right way in order to be successful in that one opportunity? The weight was so much different this training camp because I feel like I had so much clarity happening, which gave me more energy. And then it's a compounding effect of a good day turns into another good day, which turns into another good day. And it has a compounding effect from a cellular health. I think we take it for granted, the fact that, you know, all we see is clothes and skin and eyeballs and hair, right? But there are how many trillions of cells inside of your body. So actually going all the way down to that cellular level, man, it's taken my physical performance to the next level, but also mentally, when I know I'm doing what I need to do, right? Whenever I want to sit on the couch and I don't want to go jump in the cold plunge, but I'm going to go do it because I made a promise to myself. So you get the physical aspects of it, and also carrying that torch, knowing that every time I did it, every time I did the whole protocol, every time I did my training and did everything else, I'm doing it not just for me, doing it for my wife and my kids and my onlookers, and my one shot at this life that I get.
So let's talk about this big preparation you're doing, because you were, a couple months ago, a month ago, I was watching some of the videos and talking to you and seeing you. You could tell the level of intensity getting prepared for this Conor McGregor fight. And you were pushing and pushing. I could just see it. I could see the percolation of the anticipation of that 15 minutes, right? And so talk a little bit about, because I think a lot of people, they get this enthusiasm, excitement about something that's going to happen in their life, and then all of a sudden it either doesn't happen or it gets delayed, and then they completely deflate themselves, right? And then it's even harder to start over for some people, like business owners that are, I see it when they're just about ready to sell their business and then the deal falls through, right? And then they're like, oh, I don't want to go back to work. I don't want to, I was already mentally checked out. And you think about, okay, so you're optimizing yourself mentally, physically, you're getting in that zone, and then all of a sudden somebody calls you and says, this fight's not happening.
Yeah, that was a very tough phone call, and it was, for me, it was I had been training for it for 6 months, not 100%, because the way we do our training camps is like, I can't be going as hard as I go in training camp all the time or else my body would fall apart. You got to incrementally go through periodizations and seasons that you go through. I'm training and I'm staying in shape, or I'm working on strength, or I'm working on cardio, I'm working on skills. But for that 10 weeks leading up to that fight, I was fully focused on that training camp against one guy on June 29th, right? And about a week prior, rumblings started happening about a possible injury or a possible fight in jeopardy. And I just always had the confident expectancy that the fight was going to happen. And I stayed optimistic all the way until that phone call rang, But when that phone call came, it was very, very tough, And it's not just because of how big the fight with Conor McGregor was and the whole world was going to be watching and it was the brightest lights and the biggest platform and the biggest paycheck. It was just, as human beings, we get let down in these certain circumstances. And just like you said, immediately it was, I am human. I am prone to wander. I felt sorry for myself for a second, right? And sometimes we need those seasons of stagnation. We need those seasons of feeling sorry for ourselves. We need those seasons of oh, woe is me, to remind ourselves how truly strong we are and how truly resilient we are, and how, and this is something I picked up from you as well, and how sometimes these things are the things that our legacy is going to be built upon. Maybe right now in this moment, I am living through the most trying time of my career, such a huge setback and letdown, that my legacy and the way that I am responding to this, my legacy is going to be written from, So I gave myself an oh, woe is me for a couple days. And then I realized my life and my legacy and my worth as a human being and as a fighter is not tied to this one fight. It will eventually work out, whether I fight him or I fight someone else. So started making some phone calls. You were one of them. Hey, can we get together? Can I go be of service? Put me to work, right? Because sitting idle is not good for me, you, or anybody. We need to be moving forward. We have to take action. Being decisive and making decisions and moving forward and having movement breeds so much more confidence than sitting around between our four walls and thinking about the bad things that have happened to us.
And isolating yourself and being alone. Get yourself out there, man.
That's what I did for a couple days, right? And man, even this too, and my wife is so supportive in this regard. I was like, she's like, hey, listen, we love you. I know you love your children, and I know you love me, and I'm your best friend, and we are, but she's like, but maybe you don't need to be here right now. Like, go get on a stage. Go speak with somebody. Go be with people who you are like-minded with and people who have gone through similar struggles. Like, that marital relationship is so important, but it's not the only relationship in your life for certain seasons, right? So she was like, hey, go out, get on a plane, go somewhere, go do something. And then lo and behold, I did. My first trip, I went out to California and filmed a TV show with my friend, and then got back energized. I was like, man, movement is good, and then booked a couple podcasts via Zoom, and then booked a podcast in person in Nashville. It was like, whereas prior, when I've had these setbacks or letdowns, it's like, well, I'm just going to sit here and feel sorry for myself.
You withdraw a bit.
Yeah, until something comes by, right? And not this time.
So that's why you're such a great example for the 10X brand. I mean, the thing that attracted me to Grant Cardone is that he's like, once you've attained your goals, you were thinking too small.
Yeah.
So 10X your goals again, and when you hit them, 10X them again. Just keep going. If you have the skill and you can find the internal fortitude and have the will, then just keep moving towards a stated objective or goal and 10X that after you've achieved it. And I think about you as a person, I think about you as an athlete, and I look at the different areas of your life, and I see you 10Xing and focusing on 10Xing all the areas of your life, because you and I both, like you said, we know. And think about Dana. If Dana White would have been the Dana White of 3 years ago, would he have started so many new businesses and had so much success? Because I'm watching him as the Dana White, the entrepreneur, not just the Dana White, the CEO of the UFC. And he is such a brilliant guy, and the things he touches turn to gold. But if he let his health dictate who the Dana White of the future is, he probably wouldn't be as creative. He probably wouldn't have as much energy. And he probably wouldn't be, like, to me, I view him right now, I'm like, this guy's so wise on how to build things and how to start things and how to market things. Like, Grant is a genius on promotion and marketing, but the closest thing I've seen to a Grant Cardone when it comes to knowing how to promote, knowing how to market, knowing how to build is Dana. And what a waste it would have been if he wasn't optimized with his health to have the energy to just continue to create, because he's just getting into his prime now. I mean, if you look at all the stuff he's touched, it's turned to gold. So as an example to me or to you, we see these people in our lives. Grant is that person to me, Dana for me and for you. And we start being around those people and it becomes contagious. We're like, we got to be healthy. We got to have energy. We got to keep moving. We got to keep fighting. We got to keep winning. And I see you as a person. I met you as a UFC fighter, but I see you now as a person, right? As a human, as a friend, as a peer. And the heart to win and the internal strength to push. I was watching you in some of your training stuff, and I was just thinking, man, I don't know if I could do, I just don't know that I could push myself that far and that hard. And then I get around you or Ray Lewis or somebody and they're like, come on, get in this thing and work out. And I'm like, I don't know, man. And then you get in there and you're like, maybe I can do it. Maybe I can push myself further. Who are those people in your life? Who do you look to and have you looked to say, I can?
Yes, I love it. Well, number one, to sum all of that up, you never know how far you can go unless you're willing to go too far, you know? And I've always been that guy who I'm always going to push myself outside the comfort zone. But, you know, for me, it started back in my college days with Coach Smith, who was our coach, and he continued to push us and always let us know that there was another gear. And he always did it in a very stoic way. It wasn't brimstone and fire, and it wasn't crazy harsh. It was like, you're telling me I have another gear, and I want to find that other gear, not for me, but for you and for the greater good of our team, right? And then now it's my coach, Henry Hooft. My coach, Henry Hooft, down in Florida. He's my head coach. Robbie Lawler is a UFC Hall of Famer, former world champion in the UFC. He is one of my coaches as well. He is a guy who is quiet with his words, but loud with his actions and how he handled his entire career. And then, yes, watching Dana and watching him, even though he is my boss and, you know, we have negotiations with the UFC and I am fighting under him, I'm watching him from an entrepreneurial lens because I've always had that entrepreneurial spirit. And I've just taken so many lessons from the physicalities of hand-to-hand combat that I can then translate into the realm or the arena of building business and making money and being entrepreneurial and creating relationships and increasing my relationship capital. And then from a very little bit softer, but also just as intense is my wife and my two sons. You know, obviously my two sons as the cornerstone of what I'm creating, this masterpiece that I'm creating every day for them. But my wife is also a hard charging, get after it individual. She has her own career and she works extremely hard. So she is one of my main motivators. So it's been very good.
So when you talk about your wife, I can just see it in your eyes, right? Having great partners in your life is extremely important because they'll either, if you have the wrong partner, they'll be clawing you back. I've been in an environment where someone could be easily saying, Mike, what do you care, Michael? I mean, you've already had a successful career. Why are you working so hard? Who cares? You know, let's just go do the next thing and relax a little bit. And you deserve to chill and you deserve to have it easy now. And like, if you have the wrong people in your life, that's the kind of conversation they're having. If you have the right people, they're like, dude, you haven't even done half of what you can do yet. You need to get off your ass. You need to go out there. You need to pound the ground. You need to hit the target. Like if depending on those influences you have in your life, if you're surrounded with the wrong people, they can just constantly pull you off target versus being around the right people that are going to push you to be the best version of yourself. And when you talk about your wife, I can see it light up. She is one of those people that's like, get off your ass. Go get in that cold plunge.
Yeah, 100%, 1000%. Because I, we are the closest to our spouse and our children, and who lives underneath our roof, right? And I see the way that she lives her life, in her similar but also different ways, and the little daily disciplines that are non-negotiables for her, and her standards that she has set that she is going to do every day, right? And we are each other's greatest cheerleader. We are each other's greatest support system, mainly because for me, I love having a wife who is career driven, who works, and that may not be everybody's household unit, but it works very well for us because she has the unique perspective that I will be very understanding when she needs to go off on a business trip, or needs to go travel, or needs to put in a long work week, or needs to work late, long hours. And she understands when I need to go to training camp or work extra hours or go travel to go do some promotional type of thing, or one of my obligations. And we get that with each other so much. And yeah, I mean, having a supportive partner, having a partner who, honestly, I think there's this very interesting thing where I think she's the hardest worker I know, and then I'm the hardest worker that she knows. And it's the most respectable and respectful thing that we love the most about each other, outside of all the emotional sides.
Yeah.
Right? It's like she has so much respect for me because I'm always trying to be better, and I have so much respect for her because she's always trying to be better. And truthfully, I think conversations like this, it's a call to action because truthfully, we all come from different upbringings and different parent situations, or different pasts, or different wounds, and certain people have been stymied, and certain people have had their wings clipped, and certain people have had limits put on them. And it's up to people like us who have already seen that light and realized that there's so much more out there to inspire and motivate them to just get 1% better today. Just do one thing today to take a step forward today, and then watch yourself be 2% better tomorrow. And 2%.
And that's really what it boils down to. If you're going to be at the best version of yourself and compete at the highest levels, you have to look for the increments. It's not the big, huge swings. It's the increments, right? So let's talk about you're gearing back up. It's coming, right?
Yep.
September.
Oh, I wish. Hopefully.
I've heard that it's supposed to happen.
I don't know if it's happening in September.
Oh, okay.
It'd be cool if it was.
We don't know.
No, there's we should be fighting in September, unfortunately.
Yeah. The pinky toe. The pinky takes longer than 6 weeks or 8 weeks to heal.
I'll tell you what, we're ready. I think it'll be a little bit longer than that, unfortunately. But by the end of the year.
Would you have fought with a broken pinky toe?
I would have fought with a broken pinky toe. And not just because it was Conor. I mean, still to this day, I've never missed weight, and I've never pulled out of a fight, never missed a wrestling match. Part of that is luck. Part of that is, having a well-enabled body, and part of it is me just gritting my teeth and never not showing up, but undefeated in that regard.
Yeah.
So it's tough.
Yeah. Well, it started in the 10X Health cold plunges.
Yep.
You guys sitting in there for 26 minutes.
Yeah.
38-degree water.
Yeah. Cold. Yeah. Las Vegas, Nevada, the Ultimate Fighter 31. Luckily, I had started kind of cold exposure before that challenge, because they don't tell you what the challenge is going to be. And then all of a sudden you just show up. They open the doors, and we saw the 2 pro plunges, and saw the 10X on the side, and the 2 units sitting there. I was like, okay, we're definitely getting in the 10X pro plunge. And then Bruce Buffer is there, about to start reading trivia, which whether I was in, obviously they were thinking, okay, if we put them in cold water, they're not going to be able to think as well for that long. But I would have lost the trivia anyway. I don't really know my mixed martial arts trivia that well, but it was just insult to injury that I was in 37 and 38-degree water for 20-something minutes.
Yeah, it was supposed to be 10 or something, right? Or
yeah, 8. They kept messing. It's show business, right? It's reality TV. It's like, oh, hold on, can we redo that? And I'm like, no, you can't redo that. I am in cold water right now. People making mistakes, and I'm like, oh, dude, we gotta wrap this up.
Yeah, Dana was like, I was not happy they were in that freezing cold water for 27 minutes.
I know. I don't think I think they kind of surprised Dana, because I think, obviously at that point, Dana had been a huge proponent of 10X and spread the word so much, right? That he was pro plunging every day. And I think the producers were like, oh, Dana's going to love this. And like, yeah, maybe Dana would have loved it for 5 to maybe 10 minutes, but 20 something.
Yeah, that's a little long. Well, look, so you're going to be ready when it's here. You're going to be ready. You're going to be physically ready. You're going to be emotionally ready, and you're going to be structurally ready because I know you, and I know you're looking forward to it.
Yes.
And so the one thing I'll just tell you is being your partner at 10X Health, having you be such a great example for Grant Cardone and the 10X brand. It's awesome for us to get to work with you. Your integrity as a human being, as a family man, it's really super cool, dude. And I have so much respect for you. I am so excited about what we're going to build together as well. And just watching you get in there and crush your opponent, and then to see what's next, because I know you're going to keep iterating what's next. That's one thing I know about you.
Nonstop, we keep moving, you know, and that's why it's life is so much more beautiful when you realize that we were created for community and created for relationships, and the maximum amount of impact is made when you create meaningful relationships with like-minded, equally yoked individuals, you know. So what you guys are doing, how you guys are constantly just moving forward with your zeal for life. And yeah, it is important to pat yourself on the back and stop and smell the roses and enjoy the fruits of your labor, but you're never doing it for very long. It's just long enough to say, we did it, baby, let's go to the next thing, right? And that's I think we're so equally yoked in that, and I can't wait to smash Conor or smash whoever it is, and we keep on fighting, and then we take 10X Health to all corners of the globe as far as the East is from the West, and get the word out that this life and the human spirit was created for so much more than we can even think or imagine, but it takes the right steps and the right people to help you get there.
Yeah, man. So well said. I can't say it better. So I want you to know I appreciate you coming on the show. Grant Cardone specifically wanted me to relay to you how much he appreciates you. And we're really looking forward to watching you crushing it with you, and killing it in life.
Thank you. You guys are awesome.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.